Are you getting ready for a inspection of your farm in the hopes of getting NPIP certified? Let's go through some biosecurity measures you should take for your farm in order to make sure you pass your inspection. I just recently went through the process of getting NPIP certified, and my flock passed the blood work and my farm also passed inspection. So I want to let you know what I did so that you can hopefully implement some of these biosecurity measures in the hopes of also passing your inspection. I have 2 other NPIP videos that are in conjunction with this video that you should check out. They're in the description below. One of those videos talks about the process, the 7 steps that need to happen in order to get NPIP certified. And then the other video is what to do once you're NPIP certified. What happens after that? Well, then you have the ability to ship hatching eggs and the ability to sell day-old chicks, roosters. You have those options, but you need to make sure that you have the proper documentation, that you're filling out the proper forms, and that you're meeting your state importation requirements. So these are all things that I'm going to talk to you in depth in that video. So definitely check that out. To prepare for your inspection of your farm, you want to make sure that you are familiar with the NPIP website's recommendations for biosecurity. In order to do that, you need to do your research by going to www.poultryimprovement.org. This is the home website for the National Poultry Improvement Plan. On this website, you're going to be able to read up on the NPIP program standards. If you click that button on the left-hand side and go to the 2019 program standards, standards A through E, and as well as checking out standards F through compartmentalization, you're gonna wanna read through these standards so that you are prepared for your farm inspection. Everything you need to know is in these documents, as well as an additional document that I'm going to show you. In the program standards, it'll tell you about the sanitation procedures that are necessary to do, go over what biosecurity is, what your responsibilities are for that, as well as what's expected of you when it comes to biosecurity. So I would highly recommend going through this, getting familiar with it. I made sure when I was doing my research that the biosecurity that I had in place here on my farm was in line with what's expected from the National Poultry Improvement Plan. So for example, if we go down to page 60, so page 60 is where it starts talking about biosecurity. You need to make sure that you have control measures in place to protect your birds against wild birds, rodents, and insects. To make sure that you have these measures in place for your inspection, so that way you can show the inspector the things that you are doing to protect your birds. The other helpful information is if you click on 9 CFR on the main poultryimprovement.org website and click on part 145. It talks about inspections and how your hatchery should be audited at least 1 time annually. It talks about the records that you need to maintain of your hatching eggs. You need to have your VS Form 93, report of sales of hatching eggs, chicks, and poults, your receipts. You need to maintain these records for 3 years. There's a whole section that talks about the testing that's offered. For my blood work, I had the pylorium typhoid testing done, as well as testing for avian influenza. So for my farm, the poultry inspector had recommended that I look at Subpart B because I'm considered a hobbyist poultry farm, because I have fowl that I'm breeding for the purpose of meat and or egg production on a small scale. What is required of my farm is listed here under Subpart E, and it tells me what I need to keep records of in order to participate in this program. So lots of great information in here that you should read up on to be better prepared. So when the poultry inspector came to my farm, she saw that I had the chicken coop and chicken run covered with a netting, which was to keep the wild birds from being able to enter the chicken run and chicken coop. I also had fencing surrounding my chicken run and chicken coop that would prevent wild birds from entering as well. As for rodent control, I do have rodent repellent hanging in my chicken coop. The scent of these herbs help to keep rodents from entering the chicken coop. I also have metal plates fastened to my chicken coop doors at the bottom to keep the rodents from trying to chew their way through the door to get into the coop. As for insect control, I do have fly bags hanging in my chicken coop to help to capture any flies that enter the chicken coop. I also have a company come and spray my farm with an organic mosquito repellent to protect my flock from mosquitoes as well. During the inspection, I showed her where I keep my feed and the type of bedding that I use. So in my case, at the time I had the rodent-proof metal containers for their feed, but I had the feed in the shed with the chickens. And so she had recommended that I keep the feed completely separate, far away from the coop, in order to avoid attracting rodents and mice into my chicken coop. I took that step by moving those out and into their own separate area. Otherwise, that was the only suggestion she had. Everything else thankfully passed inspection and she was happy with it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you're learning to farm like me. There is so much more to see. If you're planning on heading elsewhere, Bangor Yui, yeah, yeah, yeah. This really is the place to be. What do you